Our organization is a mid-sized regional healthcare technology company focused on preventive care, patient outreach, and population health management. The organization uses healthcare technology and data-driven systems to support providers in identifying care gaps, improving patient engagement, and strengthening follow-up care. Because the organization already operates within the healthcare ecosystem, it possesses relevant experience, infrastructure, and stakeholder relationships while still having room to grow into new markets and customer groups. Our final problem statement is as follows. Underserved rural populations have difficulty accessing preventive healthcare services when local care options are limited or difficult to navigate. These barriers can delay routine care and contribute to poor health outcomes. We intentionally designed this statement to focus exclusively on the problem itself. We use the problem opportunity screen from our course readings to keep our team focused on defining the problem clearly. At a high level, we explored customer, industry, and marketplace concerns, tested whether each issue was a valid problem, checked alignment with company goals and capabilities, and considered whether each problem had enough customer and business relevance to move forward. This process gave us a structured way to move from broad healthcare access concerns toward a focused problem statement. Several course concepts shaped our approach. Cooper emphasizes that successful innovators rely on structured processes rather than assumptions when identifying opportunities. Winston argues that organizations should spend more time asking better questions before developing solutions. Finally, systems thinking concepts helped us understand how patients, providers, community organizations, and healthcare systems interact with one another. Collectively, these frameworks allowed us to evaluate not only the problem itself, but also the broader system surrounding the problem. Our initial discussions focused broadly on healthcare access challenges affecting underserved populations. However, we quickly recognized that healthcare access by itself was too broad to support a focused strategy. We explored whether technology access, telehealth availability, and communication gaps represented valid problems. However, we determined that many of these concepts were actually potential solutions rather than root problems. As a result, we shifted our focus toward understanding why patients were unable to consistently engage in preventive healthcare activities. Winston describes this process as heretical innovation, which involves challenging long-standing assumptions and asking questions that initially feel uncomfortable or unconventional. Traditional thinking often assumes that improving healthcare requires adding services or expanding existing processes. Our team instead challenged those assumptions by asking why patients disengage from preventive health care and what barriers exist across the broader healthcare system. Rather than immediately asking what solutions should be developed, we focused on understanding what conditions contribute to the problem.
As we narrowed our focus, we evaluated several categories of barriers impacting preventive care access. These included geographic limitations, provider availability, follow-up challenges, and healthcare navigation difficulties. We also reviewed outside research and found similar themes, especially around rural and underserved areas facing challenges with access, quality, and service effectiveness. That reinforced that this was not just an isolated concern, but a broader problem direction worth exploring. We then considered how each issue affected patients, providers, community organizations, and the organization itself. This assists us in determining which problem represented both a meaningful customer challenge and a realistic strategic opportunity. We then tested whether the problem concept was strong enough to support a future marketing strategy. We compared the direction against clarity, company connection, and market value. We also asked whether the problem could be explained simply without becoming too broad, too narrow, or too close to a product description. This step was important because we wanted to keep the focus on a real healthcare access problem, not a preferred solution. After applying the building knowledge problem test, we confirmed that the concept could create value for the company, customers, and society. Cooper's critical success drivers gave us 3 useful screens for evaluating the problem direction. First, we looked at core competencies by asking whether rural preventive care access connected to the company's healthcare technology strengths and market knowledge. Second, we considered market attractiveness by asking whether the problem impacted a meaningful customer group with room for growth. Third, we used the voice of the customer by keeping the focus on real patient and provider pain points. Those 3 screens supported a more market-driven and organization-ready problem direction. Refining the problem statement. Our team created and revised multiple versions of the problem statement. Throughout this process, we removed language that was overly broad and eliminated wording that implied specific solutions. Ultimately, we developed a statement that defined the underlying access problem clearly while leaving room to evaluate different strategic responses. This problem connects well with the organization's direction because it matches the company's focus on healthcare technology, prevention, and patient care. Rather than requiring the company to move into an unrelated area, Rural Preventive Care Access builds from capabilities the organization can reasonably apply, including data-driven engagement, care coordination, and provider support. It also supports the company's growth and financial goals by creating a path to reach rural and underserved markets while creating value for patients, providers, and the organization. The problem is shared by multiple stakeholders. These include rural patients with limited healthcare access, older adults requiring routine screenings, low-income populations facing transportation and scheduling barriers, healthcare providers working to improve outreach efforts, and insurance partners seeking better preventive care engagement, among many others. Because the problem affects a large rural population, it represents a valid market opportunity. This problem has value across the business, customers, and society. For the business, Rural Preventive Care Access creates a path for new revenue through rural market expansion, while also strengthening relationships with the providers and community partners. For customers, the value comes from better access to routine care, earlier outreach, and stronger follow-up before health concerns become more serious. From a societal perspective, addressing this problem can reduce preventive care gaps in underserved rural communities, support health equity, and lower the long-term burden created when care is delayed or missed. In conclusion, our team used this assignment to define the marketing purpose before building a strategy around it. We did not begin with a product or platform. Instead, we used the course concepts to question the problem, screen the direction, and refine the wording until we had a focused problem statement. That process led us to Rural Preventive Care Access because the issue is specific, shared by a meaningful group, and connected to the company's capabilities and growth goals. Addressing this problem also creates value beyond the organization by improving access for customers and supporting broader healthcare outcomes for society. Thank you.